Mario Maker 3 is most likely not going to be released anytime soon. So a couple of months ago, I started creating my own maker game in Unity called Super Smashy Maker. My goal is to create an awesome game for the community using their feedback and suggestions. In this video, we will go over all things I added since the last one. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you end up enjoying the video, and keep in mind that everything you see is in early development. Let's go! First of all, I made a small change to Mario's interaction with the amps. Instead of only getting hit like he normally would with any other enemy, I changed it to be more authentic and closer to the original. So now if Mario gets electrocuted, he briefly hovers in the air and loses all his momentum while taking damage. The sprites for these look awesome, and this type of getting damaged will most likely be used for all electric enemies that will be added in the future. Next up, I remade the fire bars from Super Mario Maker 2, but that wouldn't be too interesting on its own, so I also made big versions which can be seen in NSMBU. These fire bars are very cool to have as some kind of variation in my opinion. They can have up to 9 fireballs attached to them, and the builder can of course decide if they turn left or right. I'm also planning on adding versions with multiple bars of fire instead of a single one, which can also be seen in NSMBU. Some other already existing enemies I recreated for Super Smashy Maker are Bills and Banzai Bills. Of course, we all know the Bill launchers from SMM2, which is also the only way to spawn them in that game. However, a Banzai Bill doesn't have a launcher, so I decided to add one. Of course, these work similar to normal launchers. In short periods of time, it shoots out the Banzai Bill in Mario's direction. If Mario is touching the launcher in any way, the Banzai will not be shot out. In the future, I will of course also be adding the Bullseye Bill and golden variant of this Banzai launcher. The first underwater enemy I added to my game is the Clampy. This enemy comes from several new Super Mario Bros. Games and is pretty unique. From time to time, Clampy opens up and could reveal something interesting inside. When Mario gets caught, he will have to wait for the Clampy to open up again. When that happens, he will have taken damage already and continue his journey. But there is almost no reason to walk inside of the Clampy when he's not holding anything shiny. So that's why the builder of the stage can choose to place a power-up inside. This would encourage players to take a risk of getting hit, but of course also being able to walk away with a glorious power-up. And here you can already see some power-ups I plan on adding to the game, like the Boom Mushroom, Mini Mushroom, and Ice Flower. In the last video, I made some boos and big boos. However, I made some changes to the sprites of the big one. At first, it was just an upscaled version of the small boo, but some people of my Discord and I came to the conclusion that big versions of enemies should be getting their own sprites, which would also look better. This will also be the case for most future big enemies. Now that we're talking about boo enemies anyways, let's take a look at some other ghost enemies as well. A cool and unique enemy from NSMBDS I added recently is the Balloon Boo. This variation of the boo will follow Mario when not being looked at and will simultaneously shrink as well until he can't no more. On the other hand, when he is being looked at, he will just hover in the air while sucking up air to grow again. Pretty dang cool. Another boo enemy from SMM2 I remade are the Boo Circles, both the small and big versions. But something that would make this enemy even cooler would be their Boo Buddy variation. They originated in Super Mario World and are basically the exact same as a normal Boo Circle, but the boos have some cool facial expressions. So in my game, the creator of the stage can turn a Boo Circle into a Boo Buddy Circle, and it looks like this. Every time the level is started, the Boo Buddies in the circle will be generated randomly, so they always look a bit different. What do you think about these guys? When making all these boo enemies, I also thought of adding one with more of a gimmicky style to it. One that would almost completely change up how a level is played. One that is kind of terrifying. I'm talking about the Moth. This enemy originates from New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS, and I've always found it a very cool enemy. Obviously, this boo is huge and actually has similar behavior to normal boos. When looked at, the Moth will stop moving, but will take a quick peek from time to time and then move forward very slowly. When Mario looks away, the giant boo moves at full speed. The Moth is also fully invincible, so when Mario jumps into him, he gets bounced back. The camera also gets attached to it, so it becomes some kind of auto-scroll stage, thus making him a gimmick enemy. In my game, I'm also planning on making levels playable from right to left, so obviously this should work with the Moth. Other ghost enemies I added are Eries from Super Mario World. These enemies move across the screen and can either move fully horizontally or fluctuate up and down. This is up to the builder to decide. Big versions exist as well, which look like these. The last ghost enemy I added so far are the well-known peoples from Super Mario 3D World, both small and big versions. Let's now take a look at some other awesome enemies. Before we continue, I want to quickly ask you to subscribe if you haven't yet. Only 15% of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed, so subscribing would help me out a lot and I would appreciate it very much. Let's continue now. In Super Mario Maker 2, we can give Buzzy Beetles wings to basically turn them into Para Beetles on which Mario can stand. But I've always felt a bit weird about those, since actual Para Beetles look way cooler in my opinion, so I decided to add them to my game as well. When Mario jumps on one of these, the Power Beetle flies upwards until Mario jumps off again. For the heavy Power Beetle, it's reversed. The beetle will fly down when Mario is standing on him. This downwards flying behavior is also not possible in SMM2, since both small and big wing buzzies fly upwards. I also added green versions of the Power Beetles, which are faster but other than that, share the exact same behavior. This is actually an unused enemy from Super Mario Bros. 3. Something cool about Power Beetles in NSMBU is that they can grant the player a 1-up by jumping on 8 consecutive Power Beetles. I also recreated that. Next up, I added pipes, because that's essential to have in a Mario game. I added all the color variations from SMM2 as well. But you guys already know I'm adding the mini mushroom to the game, which would also be a good opportunity to add mini pipes. These pipes can only be entered as mini Mario, so they would be cool for secrets or simply just exclusive mini Mario levels. These were also added in all SMM2 colors for variety purposes. I also added giant pipes to my game, which work like normal pipes, but are obviously way bigger. But something that might be more interesting for these gigapipes is to transform them into tunnels. So whenever Mario enters this pipe, it reveals the inside of it. These are also available in all colors. For now, the sprite is in my Discord server, and I decided to give it some cracks to differentiate them from the gigapipes I showed earlier. What do you think about these pipes? Now there is still another type of pipe that I've always really liked, being launch pipes. These pipes launch Mario into the air, either upwards or sideways. Let's take a look at the upwards ones first. When Mario enters it, he gets shot upwards with a unique sprite as well. Whenever he reaches the peak of the launch or bonks his head, he can start moving again. The color of the pipe decides how high Mario gets shot. Let's quickly compare them. I respected the color order from Mario Maker 2, which means blue shoots the lowest, followed by green, then orange, and lastly red, which shoots Mario really high. I can also already imagine some of the little team activities, but we'll have to deal with that anyways. The sideways launch pipes can shoot either left or right. When Mario gets launched, he becomes some kind of cannonball form of himself until he bonks into something solid or lands again. The length of the launch is once again determined by the pipe color. Blue really doesn't shoot that far, the length of the orange one is already pretty far, and the red one shoots the furthest. Let's take a look at the little Timmy cam once again for this one. That's it for today's video. If you want to see updates on the game more frequently, or help out with making sound effects or music, feel free to join my Discord server, which is linked in the description. Feel free to drop your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below as well. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.